It's tricky. You need to get the adrenaline and let that in, but you can't let the sort of enormity of it swallow you.
I know the one thing that's gonna keep me into the sport is, do I still get nervous? Do I still get the stress? Do I still get the butterflies? And I still do, and that means I still want it.
I remember being 6 years old and just telling everybody at our water ski school, I'm gonna be a world champion one day. This is our pinnacle, this is what we train for, this is what we wanna peak at.
There's always one more buoy to get. There's always one more rope length to shorten. It's not something you can complete, so it's something that pushes you to always want to do better.
You have to play offense. You can't play defense. You can't go out there and just do enough because somebody's gonna beat you.
So it's almost like it's a moment that we live for, kind of. But that doesn't diminish like how stressful it is and how nervous you can be. I have to shake out my hands like 100 times every 30 seconds because I shake.
I mean, definitely makes you a little bit more nervous when everybody's skiing really well. The pressure's on, you know you have to do really well.
I'm drinking water constantly before I go. I get so nervous my mouth goes dry and I can't spit. Anybody that has no fear is either a psychopath or they're not pushing, period.
I'm full of fear. I mean, being fearless to me sounds like someone that's not listening to what's going on or not paying attention and just blocking it out and going. I can do that, but at that point you're rolling the dice.
So water skiing is a very strange sport, which is not known about by the public, but like there's a group of people in water skiing who it's the only thing they care about. Slalom skiing, the boat goes down the middle of a 6-buoy course, buoys alternately on each side. You go around the buoys with the boat going through the middle. You get to the end of that course, shorten the rope.
And that is the same all around the world in every event that you go to. And the skier that can run the most buoys at the shortest line length is determined the winner at that point.
Let them lions roar until the elephants are lined, till all the tamers resign.
If you fall, you're out. If you miss a buoy, you're out. One chance, you go till you miss. Time, energy, efforts, training, everything that's gone into that tournament is going for one moment. You make one mistake and fall, you're done. See you later. I'm doing this because I was 8 years old and I gave myself the ambition of being the best water skier in the world. I'll do anything to get there.
My first year skiing that professional level is when I decided that I think I can do this, and I just put my head down and said, I want to do this, I want to win, I can prove myself, and I can prove to others that I can go out there and be the best with the best.
Well, if we lose, really no one cares. If we win, people don't really care that much. But I care. I care a lot.
Trick skiing, basically you have two passes, a hand pass and a toe pass. And the hand pass and toe pass are completely different. The toe pass, you put the handle on your non-dominant foot, and so you have a series of tricks that you do and you put them into a run that gives you the most amount of points. And with hands is a bit different because you can have flips, you can have your ski lines, you can have a bunch of different tricks that you do. You're only allowed to do 6 flips in one run. And so you only have 20 seconds. So sometimes it can come down to the last 10th or 100th of a second to get that last trick in time. And so that can really, really make a difference.
So it's all or nothing. So for a trick, if you mess up in the slightest and it is not done properly, you're gonna score 0. So you're trying to do the hardest tricks with the most amount of points, the best you possibly can.
There are no points for style. In trick skiing, you want to get the most amount of points possible in the 20 seconds.
So for my toe pass, I do about 18 tricks, so that's about a second a trick. And then for hands, it's about 1.5 seconds a trick. You want to be on a release if you're gonna do toes. And you need somebody to absolutely make sure they know what they're doing. The rope is attached to typically another piece of rope, and then the pinner holds onto that so that you are attached to the pylon. However, if you fall, they should let go and the rope pops off so that you don't get stuck. Because when your foot is in the rope and then you fall, you're gonna just drag down the lake if you're stuck on the pylon.
You have to be extremely innovative, really creative. You have to be fast, you have to be agile. Sometimes it can be extremely close, almost to where like it just seems crazy. It can happen when two people are doing extremely different runs and you can still be within 10 points of each other. Or you could be doing very similar runs and it could come down to who gets the last trick, no matter how small that trick is in time.
Just Google the ways people die. I mean, there's so many ways to hurt yourself and kill yourself. So, I mean, I might as well engage in something exciting, at least because we're just, you know. The actual physics of it and what we're doing, you know, we're going 70 miles an hour roughly when we hit the jump on a really good jump. The boat's going 35 miles an hour. We're on a 75-foot rope for us to jump 6 feet tall, and, you know, we're trying to go a football field. So it's, you know, the boat with 450 horsepower, the rope, the pendulum effect of it. To me, it's like what you get at the theme park, but you get to create it yourself.
So for someone who's never seen it, to try and paint a picture, you know, you got 450, 470 horsepower boat. We're in, you know, full pads, protection, you know, rib pads, and, you know, if we knock ourselves out, we've got to be floating. Helmets, specific helmets. I use like a skydiving helmet. It's very light, good padding in it. We come around the turn and we line up. Got to make this initial cutout to the left of the boat. Boat's running at about 35 mile an hour. As we pull out and as we create load on the boat, the cruise control system reacts to that load and it accelerates. So the boat's going to accelerate from, say, 35 to about 37 mile an hour, and my speed will go from 35 mile an hour up to about 50 on that initial swing out to what we call the 600 football, which is 600 feet away from the end of the ramp. And all of this is happening in fractions of a second. I mean, it's almost instantaneous. And as I turn and I start to accelerate off to the right side on the driver's side of the boat, and I'm, you know, 60, 65 mile an hour, and I'm gonna go from that outward movement away from the boat. At this point in time, right there is when I decide, am I going to keep a hold of the handle and take this jump, or am I gonna pass? Because once I land off the second wake, there isn't time to make that decision. And at that point, you just start driving across the lake as hard as you can, and the pressure becomes so intense at about the time you hit the first wake, you're gonna start to get airborne a little bit and you're gonna leave the water. And from there, from the time I land off the second wake till the time I hit the jump is, I mean, it's less than a blink of an eye. It happens so fast. And when it's right and you come through, you're starting to stand up from all that pull, and you hit the ramp and it trips you forward a little bit, and then you just explode. And if everything's right, it feels like somebody picks you up by your shirt and the back of your pants and they just throw you right off the end of the jump. It feels almost effortless, and you're climbing so fast and so high, and you just settle in. You're now at this point in time, I'm flying. I'm going to get aerodynamic. I'm going to try and move as little as possible. You know you're coming down and you focus out in front of you. And on the really good jumps, you'll come down and you'll land and it's nice and soft and smooth. It's the scary ones, the crashes where you come off that top of the ramp and something goes wrong and you lose a ski. There's, they talk about the relativity of time and the amount of thoughts and amount of conversations that you can have in your head it's the same second and a half or 2 seconds that you would get on a normal jump from that point on. But it feels like it takes an hour that you're working through all this stuff, and then you brace.
Whoa! Out of control. Doug, this is a huge crash. Did you see him bounce?
Freddy Krueger living up to the Crash King status that he's unfortunately born out of his career.
Were you late into the ramp?
Dave, I don't remember anything that just happened. You want to know what extreme is? I'm trying to remember where I'm at right now, folks. So,
sometimes you get lucky and you roll out of them. You're beat up, you're bruised, but you're not hurt.
Well, a person comes into the ramp maybe a little gun shy after a crash like that, or were you able to put it out of your mind?
There's no room for gun shy. No, not at all. Didn't hesitate at all. I think I have a bit of a gift in that, and the reason I didn't jump further wasn't because I was gun shy. It's just simple mistakes.
In my generation of coming up, we saw a lot more crashing, and we saw a lot of injuries, a lot of broken ribs, and that we got used to that stuff. I mean, it was, and we wore it like a badge. I mean, you were the jumpers, you were the gladiators. That was part. Again, we talk about that adrenaline.
Over the last 10 years, are usually clustered somewhere plus or minus within 5 feet of each other, right? Basically, 99% of the tournaments we've competed against each other in 10 years, we've been first or second, one way or the other.
The TWBC crew, bunch of weirdos, in a good way. I mean, I laugh myself. People say to me, "So who do you hang out with at the tournaments? Who are your good buddies?" And I'm like, I mean, I tend to have dinner with the webcast guys because I like them.
This is my biological father.
Tony, who's the guy that he came up with the name, I guess, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was. And I mean, he's as eccentric as a guy as you could meet, except for maybe Vince Stadelbauer, who is a very strange man with a fixation on water skiing, and we're very lucky to have him. And he's collected this group of people that just kill each other behind the cameras, and they do these 4 a.m. go to the lake all day, blood, sweat, and tears, go to bed at night, 3 hours sleep. There's a rainstorm at 2 a.m, they're out there again. It's funny old bunch of people, but it's amazing that they're so different, but also such good friends, and the way they make this together is magical, actually.
Entrance gates number 1.
A lot of people will say that, I'm not exactly the most socially confident guy out there, but give me a microphone and an audience, and things change just like that, Obviously, at this time, the sport doesn't have that much exposure right now to where one person in my position, at least, can make a solid living doing just that. So I do substitute teaching, and I take on other jobs as well outside of water skiing, but always make sure that I've got time for the sport and to help develop TWBC, because I mean, truly in my heart of hearts, I believe that with the greater exposure that TWBC brings, it will bring on more support, more in the way of sponsors, to where there could be that chance that I and those that I associate myself with can actually make a halfway decent living doing this. I'm conscious of the fact that the skiers' needs and wants and desires have to be respected, but at the same time, there's an obligation for the audience themselves to have some knowledge about what's going on within the sport.
Hello, I love you.
There we go.
It's me.
webcasting's not easy at all. Unfortunately, it's not easy at all. It requires a mountain of work. It requires a mountain of preparation. So you set up as much as you can. You hope for the best. But all in all, you wake up the morning of and that camera's not going to work and you don't really know why, or the computer's not going to turn on and you don't really know why, or the file's going to crash and you don't really know why. Between the accents, between the lack of proof, we had a vision, but on the official end and on the organizer end, it was very hard for people to take us seriously. Every year we invest 100% of our time, energy, and money into this. So after 5 years, that's the point we're at. And now we have a full-size trailer that we're sitting in right now, 2 computers, 7 screen, and then outside the trailer, we have double the crew that what we used to have before. So now we're about a 10-person crew with 2 computers and a webcast trailer, and before was Tony and I on a laptop, basically. So yes, it improved. I believe there's still a long way to go. I think we're midway there, but we definitely did the hardest, that's for sure. When you go to an event, you work so hard towards achieving that goal or being able to do what you got to do at this event. And then when you go back home and you go back to your normal life, nothing's going to really affect you. Nor, I don't know, if you got a job interview, you're not going to really be stressed. So when I used to be at school, everyone would show up and be so stressed for the exam. And I'd be like, well, it's a school exam, who cares? You relate to stress way differently. I think everyone that's used to performing under pressure would say the same thing. The stress in life is way smaller than what you will ever witness at a tournament. We had the month of August, which was very busy. We webcasted about like 27 days. We stayed away from the house for like a month, constantly on the move, constantly packing, unpacking, stress 24/7, obviously. So it was the busiest month we ever webcasted, and I was strongly looking forward to go home. Every time it happens, as soon as you're home, after 2-3 days, it slowly hits you that yes, it's over, it happened, and now you're home and you're back to your routine and you're back to a normal life. It's so goal-oriented that when then you go back to kind of normal and nothing to really get done, makes you kind of depressed.
It's a pretty crazy sport, honestly, because as much as it's not the biggest sport in the world, we do have unbelievable equipment, right? We've got a bespoke boat. Now, there's 3 main manufacturers of boats, but they're all kind of doing the same thing. It's a 20-foot boat. I come from Europe, right? You see an engine over 3 liters, you're like, whoa. In America, you see a truck with a 5.7 liter engine, like, that's ridiculous. You put a 5.7 liter engine in one of our boats, you're like, that boat sucks. I do 6.2. I want a 6.2 liter engine. You know, that's ridiculous. The boats are amazing, super fast, super quick, and crucially, they're, you know, you can get boats like fishing boats. They go really fast. These things, they track. The idea is that they track really well. So you have a driver that's a really big part of it. You've got to have a guy that knows exactly what he's doing. You don't fall out of bed in the morning and get into one of these boats. You've got to be trained, you've got to be really good, you've got to have a lot of practice, and you've got to get actually a reputation. As much as you want that, you know, the driver's got to go straight, he's got to counter, he's got to make sure that the skier, as much as they're pulling you, 1,000 pounds of pressure at 90 degrees to the boat more or less, he's got to make sure the boat stays going straight. That's a big skill in itself. Now, to make sure that that is happening correctly, we have GPS technologies that are going to show exactly to the millimeter where the boat is, okay, in relation to the course that is set out. We also have GPS-based cruise control, which means that the boat is, like for me, I ski at 36 miles an hour the whole way. 16.08 seconds. If you move towards the skier, then on a short rope, you're giving them a 10% advantage. And then you can swing them across by kind of, you know, whipping the back of the boat across. It pushes the water that way. The skier gets to go across with less effort. So that's what we call weaving. That's not allowed. It's against the rules. And driver reputation is a huge thing in this sport. Is, you know, you pull a few dodgy scores or you screw up a couple times, you get a bad rep. You don't get put back in that seat and you just ruined your life. You know, if that's the thing you like doing, because people love it. It's their main thing. More than they like skiing, they like driving the boat. More and more we're seeing that our best drivers, the ones that we have known for a long time, are really good. They really are good. This new emerging GPS technology which plots their path is showing that they're fantastic, and it shows that the camera angles, the camera which shows straight down the boat lane has been accurate. So there's a lot of numbers, but let's keep it really simple. The first thing to understand is that the shorter the rope is, the harder it is. The buoy is 11.5 meters from the middle of the course, and essentially all the tournaments that we tend to have, they're won and lost at 10.25. Some people measure the rope in meters in terms of how long it is, and some people measure in feet off from 75 feet. It's kind of a strange system, and it's sort of from the old days, but essentially what you're looking for is 41 off is 10.25. That's your hardest pass for the most part. That's where the action is. The world record is at 9.75. That really is incredibly short, and you're using a lot of your body to get outside of that. And I can promise you that's really using the very limits of what a human being is capable of.
What is interesting is there are very few people that you will meet and you say, I water ski, that don't know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody knows what water skiing is. Oh, I tried it once with my uncle's Bass Buggy 2000 or whatever, right? Like everybody knows what it is. There was, especially through the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a lot of people that would associate that with Cypress Gardens or SeaWorld, where it was more about these shows, like show ski stuff, and especially up to the Midwest in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio, all that area up there. But people didn't understand that they would tend to think of water skiing more as an activity, less of a sport. We're a small sport, absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. I think we're a popular activity, but a small sport.
I mean, you can go back to the 1980s when I was involved in the sport, and there were a lot more events that were presented on terrestrial TV at that time. But you've also got to realize that at that time, the whole space of sports on TV was a heck of a lot different outside of water skiing as well. Because back in the 80s, you didn't have like the multi-million-dollar sports franchises. You didn't have the Premier League with like clubs such as Manchester United or Chelsea or Manchester City, like raking in like millions upon millions, even bordering upon billions of dollars. So soccer at that time didn't have like the purchasing power or the buying power to basically buy up every single bit of airtime you could get, And I mean, sports rights, acquisitions, and all that kind of stuff at that time, it was a heck of a lot different. You didn't have channels at that time dedicated to having a specific sport or that kind of stuff. There was still a lot of competition, a lot of fair competition competing for sporting rights, and water skiing was well placed, to be presented on terrestrial TV on a frequent basis during the summer, because basically you didn't have that much else to put on the air during the summer months. I mean, football was out of season, rugby was out of season. You had tennis, obviously, but tennis back then wasn't nearly as predominant as it is now. So I mean, you just didn't have as much competition for airtime back in the 80s or the late 70s as you do right now. Right now, I mean, to get our sport onto terrestrial TV is nigh on impossible.
The World Championships are very important because they're only every 2 years. I feel like they kind of just define who the best is.
Overall, it's the most important event in water ski. As a skier, as a tournament organizer, as a driver, as a webcaster, whatever job you have in the sport, you wish you could do it at Worlds.
I think that the reason that the World Championships is so big is because you can have the California Pro-Am, you can have the San Gervasio Pro-Am, you can have the European Championships, but the only one that encompasses the whole world is the World Championships. It's our Olympics. We'll never be in the Olympics. The World Championships is as big as it gets.
right, what do you want? I think I'm good.
I think I'm definitely competitive at everything. I think skiing is where I want to be most competitive. I think that's the most important aspect of my life, so I want to keep that as my priority, and I have no problem telling my teachers that. I'm definitely not as stressed in my daily life compared to my skiing life, I think. I think if there's a big tournament coming up and there's some stress around that tournament, then that's the most stress I think I'll ever feel. So leading up to a tournament like Worlds, I think it's really important to prioritize. You have to prioritize your days around skiing, and whether that's involving school or not involving school, it really doesn't matter because you really have to prioritize skiing. So you have to figure out, even when you're eating that day, you have to figure out a good schedule, even weeks in advance before the tournament. So you figure out when you're skiing, when you're eating, how long you're sleeping, if you're gonna do schoolwork, things like that.
I like tricking, and I think I'm good at it because I definitely like to set goals, and then I like to achieve them. If there's something that I set, then I work really hard to try and achieve that goal. There's not a lot of things that I say, oh, I want to do this, and then don't put my heart and soul into doing. There are some things that I don't achieve, but that doesn't mean I didn't try. I would say right now, my goal, I want to trick 11,000 points. I'd like to break the world record again. I wouldn't say just like racking up medals would necessarily be my goal. I think I like doing hard things, I think is a little bit of it. You have to be strong in order to do it because it takes some strength and it takes some endurance and kind of like, yeah, conditioning. I like running, I like those things, and it kind of combines it all, and you have to, it's kind of the skill set that I have to have. You have to have your head on straight. I mean, mentally it's difficult and challenging, and I think that's something you have to learn. For me, learning how to hold yourself together when you don't do well. It challenges so many things for me.
I think there have been a lot of times where I just wanted to give up and be done with it. I guess sometimes the sport does drive you crazy. I feel like everyone gets to that. Like if you like push yourself enough and you get to this high level in a sport, I bet everyone does feel like that.
All right, and what you'll notice with Neely Ross as she comes into the course and wraps herself in for a toe 7 front. Just look at her shake the nervousness out of her body before she goes into the first trick, which is a toe 7 front. Look at the speed.
She knows that what she needs to get ahead of Erica Lang and put pressure on Anna Gay is nothing short of 2 perfect stand-up passes. She doesn't have necessarily the big tricks that we saw from Erica. What Neely has is consistency and speed, and in tricks, that is the name of the game. I mean, Tony, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's just gone quiet around the site. I mean, there was chatter, there was buzz, and now, I mean, everyone is just dead silent. They're waiting anxiously for these next few trick passes. I mean, you can cut the tension with a knife right now.
Here it comes, Neely Ross. Second pass, Mo back. Mo back reverse. That's 800 points for each one. There's another 800 pointer with the front flip. Flip twist to the back, 730 points. And there was the reverse, another 730. Slows right down for the ski line back to the front. Wake 5 front, wake 5 back. Does she have a ski line back to back? Misses the line towards the end, and that could prove critical. But ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up, please, for Neely Ross. Setting up the speed here for a first of 2 20-second passes. The last two passes of women's tricks that we will see in these World Championships in this season. Here we go. This is Anna Gay.
Yep, big toe run here. Big 20 seconds for Anna Gay and Team USA, starting off well. Very efficient on toes as Anna Gay. She wastes no time at all. As lightning quick toe wrap in, toe out tricks. She'll have a few toe steps here to finish over the line. Clean on toe line O. She's got one or two more. The quick flick toe back, toe front. And a stand-up toe pass from Anna Gay.
9,880 for Neely Ross.
But these next 20 seconds will decide who your world trick champion is. Will it be Neely Ross of Canada or will it be Anna Gay of the US of A? Nothing short of perfection required here for the young American.
I watched Neely and Erica. They both skied really well. I actually didn't know when I went back and watched, Neely missed her ski line back-to-back at the end. And I just missed that because the way the boat was coming back, I couldn't see her, so I didn't see it. And it looked great to me. So, I mean, I knew I was going to have to do a big run. I mean, those little tricks that trickers talk about getting in time, those were going to be important.
Okay, over the line here. Big ski line trick. She's going to have 6 flips to finish. A nice, crisp, clean front flip. She's transitioning straight into the back landing here. This is fast from Anna Gay. She's only 1 or 2 flips away here from another world trick title. Comes in here for the last couple. A mob in the reverse. Has she done it? Oh, I think it's probably enough. She throws the fist.
There you go. Look at that.
Tricks, you have to wait for the judges. So it's not like you finish, you stand up, yay, you win. That's not really how it works. They have to go time it. They have to judge it. They have to score it. All of those things. So, and that, honestly, that took kind of a while. For like a Worlds, I was like, okay, this is kind of taking a while. Like, I was like, okay, like, I want to know what my score is. And so it did take a little while to come out. So then you're just kind of pacing up and down, like waiting for the scores to come out. And I knew it was going to be close. I absolutely didn't know. Like, I finished and I wasn't like, oh yeah, that should be it. I was like, that was good, I think, but I don't know, was I fast enough? Did I get those last tricks in time? Was everything credit?
All right, then 10,440 points. Your world champion is Anna Gay with 10,440 points. Your winner in 2021.
Yeah, big moment for her and a 3rd world title already. I mean, Anna Gay, only about 22 years of age and already 3 world trick titles. I mean, some of the most dominant trickers in our sport have not won 3 world trick titles.
This World's, even 2 weeks after, I did not want to touch a ski. But I think now I would say that motivated me more.
Everyone has their aim for doing this, and it's I won the US Masters last year. No one really cared. I mean, like my friends cared, and people that I know cared. But the people that in the outside world, I wasn't posted on BBC News. You know what I mean? So we don't do it for the glory. We don't do it for the fame or the recognition particularly. We do it because we're a bunch of traveling weirdos who really want to beat the guys that we see against all the time so that we can feel a little bit better about ourselves. And I think it comes down to insecurity. Do you know what I mean? It is. I mean, I've mentioned this before, but I read somewhere when I was growing up, the athletes are the most insecure people, right? And I'm thinking, how does that make any sense, you know? And then the more I get to being a professional athlete, where this is my absolute main aim in life, the more I can relate to it, because yeah, if for a little while I was world champion for 2 years, and then I would go to whatever tournament, and I hadn't skied well for like 3 or 4 tournaments. And I'm like, I'm not worthy. And that world championship, it almost annoyed me, So you're only as good as your last tournament. You're only as good as how you feel, as the value that you give yourself. And I mean, I'm being maybe a little honest here, but I think that the thing that drives us is to prove to ourselves that we're as good as we want to be and as we have been before, or as we feel that we can be.
The 2017 World Men's Slalom Champion. He won that title in Paris in that year. This is Freddy Winter.
And he is our 3rd English athlete on the water I tell you what, the number of top slalom skiers that England pumps out is amazing.
Freddie Winter looking to match the amount of world slalom titles that have been amassed by the likes of Will Asher and Thomas de Gasperi and Nate Smith as well. So wanting to be amongst that elite group of athletes in recent times to have gotten not one but 2 world championships in his back pocket. All right, and Freddie Winter, a skier from Great Britain, but not a member of their team, skiing as an individual. But no doubt there'll be folks all across the United Kingdom from ski clubs such as Hazelwood Ski World and Gosfield Lake and Oxford Waterskiing Club checking in and seeing what Freddie Winter can do with this attempt at 10.25 minutes. Look at him go around buoy number 2 and round number 3. Oh, and he's in that log jam. 3 buoys at 10.25 meters.
Wow.
When will the madness stop?
Wow, that's a lot of threes right there.
There's a ton of threes in the prelims. There's a ton of threes here in the finals. And how many skiers have we seen come around 3 and not be able to get across the 4 and they're hitting their hands going, what if?
But I tell you what, the guy in the water right now, if you're at this Sunset Lakes, I'd get up on your feet, all eyes to the water. Nate Smith, our current world record holder.
I do get nervous every once in a while, especially when there's big scores that are put out there to get into not only the finals, but I do get nervous. I mean, again, it goes back to if I go out there and do my thing, I'm going to be just fine. And that's what I have to keep telling myself. But everybody gets nervous, and nerves are a good thing. That means you care. That means you want to win. If you're not nervous, then you're probably sitting in the wrong spot at that point.
So looking at Nate's dominance at a lot of the pro events over the years, it's surprising to hear that the last time he actually won the Worlds was 2015. Fred Winter, I think, was 2017, 2019, yep. Joel Howley. So it's been 6 years since this guy's been on the top of the podium at a World Champs. He's won pretty much everything in between, on and off. And I know he's got his sights on getting on the top step of the podiums that we're going to have fairly shortly after the close of this event.
The second you slip up, one of these guys are going to beat you every single time. But I just go out and ski and tell myself to just do exactly what I do in practice and go out and be confident and go do my thing. Because if I go do my thing, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to come out on top.
Here he comes, 41 off, guys.
All right, rolls in towards buoy number 1 at 41 off. Takes a good strike off number 1. He is set for number 3. Takes a piece of number 4 here for the World Championship title. He gets round number 5, and he will run 10.25 meters.
Wow. The fist goes up, guys. How was that form?
Yeah, he didn't like 39 that much, so he ran 41 even easier. That was amazing.
I would say it was more of a relief to win Worlds, just that all the hard work paid off. I mean, the training going up to that tournament, I definitely put in more work than I normally would. I knew that I wanted to go to that tournament. I wanted to win, and I wanted to win in a big way. To go run 41 off 2 rounds in a row, break the world tournament record, to me, that was just a relief of I did it. That's what everybody wants to go do. They want to practice, they want to train, set a game plan, and go out and dominate. And that World Championships is exactly what I did.
Nate Smith as your world champion with 1 at 9.75. Thomas de Gasperi, his score at 3 at 10.25 meters was enough for him to gain second place because he had a superior backup score, which gives him the silver medal. Now, we are going to go into a runoff for the final medal on the podium, the bronze medal. It'll take place between Adam Saddlemeyer, Stephen Neveu, Brian Detrick, Will Asher, and Freddie Winter. And the order has been determined by our chief judge.
Basically, a runoff is a result of a tie. It's when you tie with someone in a final. Now, they don't always run off. They usually don't run off for second and third. They'll usually only run off for first. I've done a few of those. The only time they'll ever run off for a third or second spot is when you have what's called a perfect tie. It's when you tie in the prelims and the final. That's what happened at the World Championships. I've never been involved in a 5-person runoff like at the Worlds. I don't like going last in runoffs. I mean, anyone that's been on a dock with me when we've been pulling for the runoff will tell you that I always get last, and I always get mad about it.
God damn it.
Yeah, number 1.
Last one, Freddy.
So, okay.
So that's it, guys. We've got our running order determined. We are basically going to sort out the bronze medal only. If there is a tie, they will continue to go from there. If there's a tie lower than that, we'll be done.
But that's the crucial thing. You got the last completed pass, and most people don't go through it. Weirdly, we've seen it recently where people they have the belief to do it. And I mean, I can tell you, going through that runoff, I mean, I was just like feeling this pressure through my shoulders that you never feel, because when you build into it, it's like you see in the high jump at the Olympics. They start low and then they build up. When you have to start high, the pressure on you is so much. I'm not talking about the emotional pressure, I'm talking about the physical pressure. Your muscles aren't warm. You try and roll your shoulders out and do some push-ups or whatever you want to do on the dock, but you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that 2 or 3 pass warm-up. That's the funny thing. Someone watching on the webcast would say, hey, these guys all ran 39 off the dock. Why did they even start at 32? If you're ready to go and you've got all that adrenaline, you've got a chance. If I was to do that in practice, I wouldn't commit in the same way, because I'm not going to risk it. So it's a special thing for tournaments.
Here we go, Fred Winter.
10.25 meters. More than 5 will give in the bronze medal. Round number 1, a little bit of a hitch on 1. He's round buoy number 2, continuing to roll. He's round number 3, even a bigger hitch off number 3. He's round number 4. Does he make it outside 5? Inside 5, which means that Fred Winter, even though he throws a backflip at the end, that removes him from bronze medal contention.
That's yours. Yeah. You ready? Say hit it, Bo.
As soon as you're afraid, you get tight, you don't ski the way that you're supposed to, and those girls will start winning. In 2011, I won everything. And then that's when that stopped, because I think that really made Regina mad. Because I didn't win, after that following Moomba in 2012, I didn't win anything for a while. And that, I think I was having a couple years where I was like totally like lost, because I had such a success and then didn't. And we were definitely not as friendly those couple years where we were like super, super head to head. And I think through me being pregnant and then her injury, I think we have just like have this like, yeah, we have this history, and we've basically created women's slalom skiing for what it is today. Like nobody really would be running 39 if it wasn't for Regina primarily, but me as well. Like I was the only other one for a while. Now have the appreciation of, I just had a baby, you're injured, and here we are trying to be the best water skiers in the world again. I felt like it didn't matter how hard I trained, I guess, so I just didn't. It was just like first place was so hard to accomplish, because Regina kind of like took off when I had my awesome season, and I was just like floundering. I was like, doesn't matter, I just broke the world record. I tied the world record and she broke it the next month, you know? And I was just like, what the heck? Like, I can't get a grip and like move past her. It was a good week leading up to the Worlds. I felt super strong. My 39 at the Worlds felt, yep, I could do more, you know, at 41. And I think, unfortunately, in hindsight, I wish I had been a little bit more tentative.
All right then, folks, now we've got Whitney McClintock-Reaney coming into the course. 10.25 meters, 41 off, some very rare air here.
I turned one, kind of old Whitney, not really the technique we've been working on. Anyway, throw my shoulder down, and I knew as soon as I threw that shoulder down, that was too much. But at 41, you don't have a lot of time to decide what you're gonna do. So I think I was so like locked in that I was like, okay, I have two options right now. Like, I'm going to end up on shore or I need to let go. And so I think if it was maybe a different lake, I don't know, maybe I would have held on a little bit longer and then the crash wouldn't have been so aggressive, but maybe it could have been worse. But to me, like when I came across the wake, I knew I wasn't going to be okay. I remember crying about it after. Like, I'm over it now. Like, watching the video has actually been really therapeutic for me because I'm like, it was 6 seconds and I was right there. Like, I was not going to die, but I felt like I was going to die at the time. I told Matt that, and because we went to the hospital after, and I just remember coming back from getting my CT scan, and I was like, I thought I was going to die. Like, that's the only time in skiing I've ever felt like that. And it wasn't the crash, and it was just like, I think I gained appreciation again for our sport that is super dangerous. And it really could be over. And now I have a son, and I had to stop, and I was just like, God, like, let me find up, and immediately I found up. Like, it wasn't, I don't know what happened that I just found it and I just put my head up and then it was over. But the whole experience was very scary for me.
Current social life in my senior semester of engineering is pretty limited. I would say I hang out with a couple engineering students in the engineering building for most of my day, and then I get a little bit of social time at the gym, and then it's usually back to homework. Going to the lake and training would be considered my social time right now. Balancing school and skiing has been very challenging. Sometimes I feel like it's not going well, but it's working out. So I think for me, it's always been prioritizing what I need to do day by day. I have to be comfortable sacrificing school or skiing one day to know that the next day it's going to rebalance out, and have set goals. Like, going into the semester, what is my goal academically? What is my goal athletically? How am I going to pull from one to support the other at a certain time, and then vice versa, so that by the end of the semester, I'm satisfied with both. A lot of people come to college and it's a really fun time and they're partying a lot and they're having a great time. I didn't go through that phase. I knew coming into school that I came here because I wanted to ski. And I also knew that I wanted to have good grades because I maybe wanted to go to med school, or I wanted to do well academically. So I didn't have time for a lot of partying and that stuff, or social life as much. So there's days when that's hard. You want to go hang out and do stuff, but reminding yourself of the goal of skiing and of school just allows you to stay determined and on that path.
But we have a question mark regarding our last skier, Whitney McClintock-Rini. She had that terrible fall we saw in the prelim round. Tony, have you had an update? Do we know what's happening with Whitney today?
And I had a blowout fracture. So where your eye socket is, this part, from the pressure of the water hitting my face, the pressure in the eye had nowhere to go, so it broke down into my face. So that's why I had all this black eye. All of that was once I got released from the hospital, I'm like, great, I have to ski on Saturday, so I'm just gonna go home, make myself feel as good as I can, and I'll go ski on Saturday. I had to go see the chief judge to get cleared to ski. She had to make sure that I was not diagnosed with a concussion, which I wasn't. The CT scan was clear. So I put my boots on and ran my first pass, but I couldn't get my ski to turn. I couldn't get it to whip through the turns. And I was like, well, that's not gonna be very good for the shorter rope. Because normally 32 is super easy, 35, you're still warming up, 38, you gotta figure out your stuff, 32 was not easy. I was really down course. I remember like trying to get my ski to turn out and it just wasn't popping through. I'm gonna do one more pass. Okay. And so I come around the turn, pull out, come around one ball, same stupid one ball. I'm like, I can't get this ski to turn right now. Like I just can't. And then I come across the wigs and I had a flash of like, what if you hit your face? What if you hit a buoy and you hit your face? And then I stopped. And that was it. I was a lot more comfortable with giving up once I realized, because that was really the whole point of me going out there, was to assess if I was capable or if I wasn't capable. And if I wasn't capable, it wasn't worth the risk. And if I was capable, it was worth the risk. But I realized very quickly, if I can't get my ski to turn at 32 and 35, it's not gonna turn at 38 and 39. To me, just mentally, I had to give it a try, or else I would have always lived in the what if. So, I had to. Cheers.
So as a Canadian athlete, Worlds is a pretty big tournament for us. We get carded, which is essentially a salary provided by the Canadian government, and that's solely determined off of your placement at Worlds. So we have either, depending on the year, we have 6 or 7 cards. So 6 or 7 Canadian athletes will get the salary, and you could win every event in the year and do bad at Worlds, and you're not getting paid. And for me, I need that card in order to survive. To put food in my mouth, like I need that income because I'm using skiing as my job. So going into a Worlds year, it's, you know, in the back of your mind, like you need to perform well at Worlds to keep skiing. I came in, I had a actually very solid start. One was good, but I got a little too, like 41 is so precise. I got a little too much load too soon out of 1, and it pulled me up into 2. So I had a lot of space coming into 2 all in terms of distance between me and the buoy, but it gave me too much time to lose width. So I came up, reached max width a little too soon, and ended up having to stand up and just kind of S-turn to get outside of the buoy. Mostly because I wanted to turn to. So I came in ready to turn it and didn't carry out keys as well as I should have if I had wanted to reach max width at the buoy.
It doesn't matter, if you're a professional athlete or just, you hurt yourself and you're trying to get back to just being who you were. It's hard. Like, you've got to relearn how to walk. You've got to relearn how to enjoy the day. Like, because there's a lot of times you're just like, am I ever going to not be in pain and enjoy, like, just being outside? And it comes, it just takes time. And, those are just mental blocks that people will face and injuries. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you're not an athlete, you have those same battles, and you don't want to get stuck. You can get stuck feeling like you're constantly in pain and not decide to push through it. And then, you hear the stories like, well, my knee was never the same again, and that's so heartbreaking because they just, they couldn't push through the pain.
This year, Regina went out, won the first event, and then shortly after that tore ACL, and that put a halt on her season. She had surgery and then was going through recovery and somehow managed to make it back by the end of the season. And I knew that this did give me a bit of an opening this season. But she's a tough competitor. She always steps up.
I am very competitive. That's my nature of who I am. I'm very competitive. And so with skiing, I don't want to leave anything, 10 years later if I retire. I don't want to say, well, I wonder if I could have ran 41. I want to run it, but now it's more of a, I know I can do it, and I have to do it. It's a drive to make sure it happens.
So I didn't want to know really what was going on outside because I was trying to focus because I was so sure I was skiing again. So I was trying to not really know what was going around like outside and how things were going for Regina.
All right then, here we go. This is Regina Jaquist for the win. She has got to get past number 2 and make a play on 3. This is at 10.25 meters. Look at her go round buoy number 1. Round number 2.
Oh no!
She's on the back of the ski.
And then all of a sudden I hear a commotion outside and I hear Tony's voice.
And that means that your new World Women's Slalom Champion,
Congratulations
for the first time,
to
is
Jamie Bull.
Bull.
What just happened?
What happened?
Huh?
Where Jamie is.
Jamie Bull! So multiple-time junior world champion, collegiate champion, and now world champion. Wow.
Do you have both skis on? Holy cow, how is that possible? Okay.
I think we need to put you in some freestyling.
Yeah.
You got the skills.
Hey.
You came off a lot better than the other one, so.
Dad, hand me that soap back. That's all we have right now.
All right, I'll hand it back after I get my shoes.
Yeah.
Are we out of soap? That tricking comes in handy sometimes, doesn't it?
Looks like you were working on a 2-ski line back.
Or toe back.
Try it.
Do you want to change them before we speed up?
No, exactly. I want to leave everything the same. We'll speed up a little bit, get a couple sets in like that, and then I don't expect them to tear anytime soon. But I don't want to go. I want to make sure before state regionals, nationals, we get them swapped out so you're used to the new stuff before then. Okay.
...2011 or 10 or 11, I won a night jump and went out and had a fun night and got beat up and I fractured my skull and had 2 parts of my brain that were bleeding, and I was like very lucky to even be alive, was what happened. They said I should never jump again. I went 3 months. I wasn't even allowed to get my heart rate above 100 beats per minute. I was laying in my house. I missed the Worlds. I missed all the events that season, and I just felt like an idiot. That was extremely humbling. And it was, I had horrible anxiety. I was depressed. It was very painful. I didn't even know what like depression was, but it was like awful. And so I got through that, but it was not a quick, sort of recovery to whatever normality is. Even the next years, kind of looking back, I was kind of jumping with headaches and some pain, and it was sort of sad, but it was the only time that I felt okay. Like I was so anxious and uneasy, and I don't even know how to describe it. So it was honestly just the only time I felt okay. But, people think that, I can't speak on everyone's behalf for their anxiety or the depression or whatever people go through. But the way I started to see it, I read this one book, and it was like, this isn't a bad thing. This isn't like a problem. You don't have like a disorder. You're not like different, or you don't need a doctor. This was, to me, and anytime it happens, the hardest is to listen to it, to sit in it and go, what is this? What does this mean? What is happening? What am I supposed to do about it? Because it's not like the typical understanding is, I'm anxious, I need to block it out, I need to run from it. That's what we want to do. I want to get busy, I want to do something, I want to have a drink, I want to have a coffee, I want to go socialize. But to me, the answers for what we're supposed to do in our life come when we just sit there, the worst you can feel, and just soak it in. Just experience it, do nothing, and what that told me, because that's what I had to do for the concussion, it was kind of a neat coincidence, was with the concussion, you have to sit in the dark, alone, no stimulus, no light, no sound, no activity, no running, nothing that I do. So I just was like 3 or 4 months. And what did it tell me? It was just like, I want to jump. All I could think about was jumps. Thinking you're sort of getting to where you're comfortably the best in the world for 3 or 4 years, winning, 90% of the events or more, breaking a world record, and then getting slapped back in the face by a nice crash at a tournament and breaking your foot, and other injuries, herniated discs in the back, and to where you can't even jump, really for a year or two is pretty humbling. So I don't think anything amazing comes without like a direct in proportion amount of sacrifice. I don't think anything worthwhile happens without suffering and pain and sacrifice. And it's not what people are putting on their stories and talking about. But I think we got to do really hard stuff, and we got to be disciplined, and we got to commit to it, and at least then you tried. And there's the saying that comparison is the thief of all joy. I think that's, I think the society gets really caught up in that, and there'd be a point where maybe the sacrifice that it takes and in what ways we sacrifice to get that 5th one, the 8th one, maybe isn't gonna feel good. So I hope I don't end up that person.
That was all right.
I've been very fortunate in my career. I've had very few catastrophic injuries, but since 2015, I'm 46 years old now. My body is not, I'm not a 25-year-old kid anymore. But yeah, it comes and goes. That desire to train at the level that you have to so that you can go and compete and stand on that dock with confidence, that is the part that is getting harder for me as well. That I have to, from a mental standpoint, always live in fear. What is the fear? Is the fear that I will get injured and not be able to finish the season? And I took a loss in income. Do I lose sponsors? Do I never get to jump again? Do I have paralysis? Like that's the real world, right? And then if you want to be great, you take all of those things and you know what they are, and you prepare. You go to the gym, you practice, you train, you mentally prepare, you do all the things that you have to do to give yourself the best shot. But if you're not willing to accept those risks, and if you don't have fear in those risks, you and I aren't playing the same game.
You're just coming down too soon. What's going on?
No, it's crap. I'm not skiing well at all. I don't have my mind in it. I got too many things on my plate right now, and I don't even deserve to be here. It's just terrible.
And that really does play a major part in an athlete's performance. I mean, I know it's early in the season and everything else, but you got to have everything lined up right to be hitting this ramp at that speed.
Yeah, and I like to keep things real simple, and they haven't been. They're not going to be for a while, so I got to go home and start rethinking my strategy.
Probably the biggest challenge of my career was to get even on the water at the Worlds. And then the second was having the courage to convince myself in finals I'm actually gonna commit and jump and just see if my body could do it. We're staying at Swiss, one of those rental houses, nice house, at the end of the lake. So I was trying to be calm there. I was just so uncomfortable. I didn't want to talk to people, just sit in the house. I didn't even want to go to the lake I told Brianna I just want to go by myself. And it was one of the weirdest. I was trying to figure out what am I supposed to do, because I've never been in a situation where I'm like, can I jump even? I'm in the Worlds, but I know in my head what I'm gonna do. And then it's will the body, can this leg absorb that force of the ramp and still come off? Or is this gonna collapse? I just got in the car, I'm like, what do I listen to? I put on some gnarly death metal. When you think it's to amp you up, right? This is probably the worst experience I ever had. When I was pulled to Swiss, I had gnarly, really heavy metal onto my truck, and I started crying. I'm not joking. I haven't even cried in 2 years, and I'm sitting there with nasty metal on, driving to the lake, and then I started crying, driving to the lake. And then I pulled up, and I just kept it on, and then I just shut my eyes and I laid in my truck, and then convinced myself it's worth a shot.
As we get ready to bring in arguably the greatest water ski jumper of all time.
I don't think if it's arguably. I think I give it to Freddy Krueger. He's won more titles, more Masters Championships, 5 world titles. He's had the record countless times. He doesn't quite hold it right now. Ryan Dodd has that title, and Ryan Dodd has been stacking up titles, trying to catch up, and he's very, very close.
It's big risk, big reward, I guess. But I've always lived my life and lived my career knowing I'm one jump away from doing something else. I mean, that's just the reality of being a jumper, and you've got to be okay with that, or you're going to be a mediocre jumper at best.
46 years of age, taking a big rip in here. Jump number 1, trips over the wakes a little bit. He has that characteristic wake jump going into the ramp, but he has to be bang on his balance. Otherwise, if he stumbles a little bit, it's hard to get that lift. And that time you saw him just drop that shoulder across the second wake, and didn't feel comfortable to stand up and really float one down the lake on that one.
One of my favorite sayings is that courage is not the absence of fear, but it's action in spite of fear. If I'm still here in 2 years, it's, again, I don't care how old I am. I don't care what's going on. If I'm going out on the water, I'm going one reason, and that's to go win, period. I mean, I don't like to lose a round. I don't want to lose a weekend. I hate to lose. Doesn't mean I can't do it gracefully, but I hate it. I hate it.
Here we go. Jump number 2. Let's see if he can conjure up something a little better. Jump number 2.
Oh, he was right on the corner. Slips out a little bit, but that's a big jump for Freddy Krueger. He's got his head down a little bit on the landing. He knows he missed it. But I tell you what, from looking at that angle from behind, he was bang on the corner. He had a lot of speed and just didn't quite carry the direction through the ramp.
So, significantly, Freddy Krueger yet to exceed his own distance from the preliminary round of 67.8, meaning he's got to do it now with the last jump.
Oh, here we go. That's a huge kick.
Like it.
And he is going to be pretty pumped with that.
Our current world men's jump title holder.
And he turns, coming in, jump number 1. Can he figure out this wind? We've heard it all from everybody coming in. The wind's a little tricky. Can he figure out his timing on jump number 1?
Oh my word. You want to make a statement? He just did.
And he is so far has got 3 world titles. Can he make it number 4? He's got another big cut coming in here. Oh, another ripper lift off the... He has got his spot, and he's pumped the fist again. It's another big one.
232 feet on that second jump. So, looking to gain his first points of the season. This is his one and only tournament of the season.
What can he do here, guys? Come on, if you're at the lake, you're watching this jump, you're on the shoreline, cheering him on. Give him a round of applause, make him cut a little bit later for you and really boost another one. Big down the lake. Can he go over 71? Jump number 3, it's late and too much. Ryan Dodd is your winner, your 2021 champion.
I was just so happy I jumped. I overcame all this crazy stuff, this new kid, and then baby on the way. Our baby was due like any day. So there was like so many things in my life. To me, I was just so happy. I got 2 beautiful jumps, landed, was on my feet, didn't break my leg. I'm like, I'll just ski in.
Congrats, Ryan.
I think water skiing still has a long way to go. It still lacks the kind of exposure that it truly, really deserves. I mean, we've got great athletes. You've got women now that are capable of jumping over 180 feet and at least 1 or 2 that are touching 200 feet, if not more. You've got skiers there that are beautifully athletic. I mean, the top 3 trick skiers in the world, are all within about 500 points of each other, and they're producing trick routines that the men couldn't even contemplate doing. Even today, some of the best female trickers are producing runs that are blowing the minds of everyone out there. And then look at slalom, both women's and men's. They're getting down onto line length shortenings. If you're not a certain height, you can barely get the ski outside the buoy, or it might actually be impossible for you to get outside the buoy. And they're doing it with such grace and such strength and such passion, that it's really deserving of an entity, of a broadcasting arm that can highly publicize that and bring it to a worldwide audience that anyone can see and listen to just by going on their browser, on their phones, on their tablets. You've got the world's best athletes right there in the palm of your hand, and you can watch it to your heart's content, and really learn something from it.
My task is to make sure people can watch skiing and people are going to be able to follow events, and then people are going to be able to follow it as good as possible. So why do we do it, actually, also, to go back to that? Because I believe now we got to a point that we have a responsibility to keep going. Now we're the most exposed. Water ski was down, now it's going a bit back up, but the more you grow, the more you got to lose also. Now to operate, we need more people, we need more money, but there is not really the people yet, there's not really the money. So now it's kind of those 2-3 years, everyone's got to really keep on pushing. So water ski can be at a healthier place, we can be at a healthier place, and we can keep going.
I've met very few people in my life that go out and they go over a jump and they write it away and they say, that's it, I'm done. I think I've met maybe 1 or 2 people who've ever done it once and said, I did it, I'm done. Normally it takes 1 time over. You write away 1 jump. You're asked, when can I do it again? Because it's that, there are very few things in the world that will pressure you that way. Very few things.
At this point, I've really accomplished everything except for one thing that I want to accomplish in my life, and I love competing, and I don't even know why I love it so much. If I win or lose, I just want to be there. I want to be on the water. I want to be encouraging people. I want to share with people that this is like a beautiful sport, and I love what I do. I love the people that I can be around, and I don't know, I have to be there. I can't shake the feeling that I have to be there.
To put it bluntly, it's the best feeling you can have in the world. It's a feeling that you'll never experience on a daily basis. That's why it's actually a pretty hard sport, because there is nothing really you can grab onto that you'll experience on a daily basis. Already speed-wise, you got speed swings that are out of this world. I can't really think of any sport where you go from 60 to 65 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour in literally a second, back to 60 miles an hour also in a second. Basically in 2 to 3 seconds you go 60, 20, 60. And on top of that, you have no enclosure around you. You're literally with a little vest with a bit of foam and a board short.
It's a sport about efficiency. And as much as it might look like sort of, blood and thunder, and sometimes when I do it wrong, it's awful. And it's a lot of effort. Your aim is to do it in an efficient manner as possible. And when you get that right, when you feel that ski just carving through the water instead of stuttering, when you get across the wakes and you just feel that handle just slowly peel away from you as you move away and get in front of that buoy, and I'm going to turn the absolute shit out of this. And you go nuts, you smash it, and you pull, you're just in a pendulum swing. And it's really beautiful when that happens. It really, really is. That's the aim of what we do. We want to be in a pendulum swing where we're sort of in some ways dancing with the boat, this absolute monstrosity with how many horsepowers, and that's why we do it.
It's not something you can complete, so it's something that pushes you to always want to do better and to challenge yourself. And I think it's a challenge, and maybe it's not my love for skiing, or it's my love for challenge and seeing how far I can push myself and see what my own limits are.